Yeah.
So, leading into that, sort of the purpose of tonight is almost just to get a bit of a player's insight from someone like yourself. Obviously, All Black. You've captained the Chiefs a handful of times, I think, and obviously captain of Hawke's Bay. So I think you're going to bring some great experience to our referees sort of group. So, what sort of things do you like as a player or as a captain, or even some of the boys like from? What sort of traits do they like from referees in terms of out on the field?
Yeah, they're varying experiences with different referees over the time, and certainly the guys that I enjoy working with the most are the ones that are really clear in their expectation in their explanations around their decisions, but are also really calm in the way that they say that as well. So it's and I think the biggest thing for me is that the ones that I enjoy the most, they talk to you as a fellow adult. They don't talk down on you, or as they're like they're superior or anything like that. It's as you're an equal, and we have a genuine discussion. I know that sometimes a lot of that's on the players if they're not, if they're sort of giving the ref a bit of a hard time, then it's hard to sort of keep cool. But certainly as a captain, the ones I enjoy the most are the guys that I can just have a genuine conversation with, and they're really clear in their explanations. And I certainly like the ones that can sort of have a bit of a laugh when appropriate as well. They're the sort of ones I've always enjoyed. I know it can be tough in the heat of the battle, but again, if you're really calm in the way that you're delivering your messages, then generally that calms everyone else around you, I reckon.
Yeah. So building that relationship for you, obviously it's probably a little bit tricky because when you're the captain, you get that opportunity pre-match to have a chat with the ref versus when you're just playing. Is it something that you try to do before the game kicks off, or is it something you just sort of sum up 10, 15 minutes into a match, like, can I have a chat or a laugh with this guy today, or girl today, or is it pretty serious?
It's probably a little bit of both. So I'll certainly try and have a real good conversation pre-game around, and for us professionally, like we get to preview teams, so we'll see things through the week that I might want the referee to have just to remind him on that, or hopefully he sees the pictures that I see. So I have a conversation to him about that, and then it's kind of just feeling it out during the game. How it's going, how he's interpreting it, and in a way that if things aren't going our way, then how so long as he is clear in his explanations on what he's saying, then I can then relay it back to the team where we might have to make slight adjustments compared to how he's refereeing things slightly different than perhaps we'd prepared for. So
yeah. Is that something that you battle with sometimes? You've got a good relationship with the referee as the captain or as a leader within the team, but then there's someone in the team that's just not gelling with the ref, or is just totally, he's totally got that red mist.
Yeah.
And do you find that a struggle to pull them in line so they sort of leave the referee alone? Or what are some of your tactics around that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's probably dependent on the player, but it can be hard, and I know it can be incredibly frustrating for referees when you've got the guy who's going off at you. But look, I don't find it hard to try to tell one of my teammates to pull his head in, if that makes sense. So if a referee was telling me that, look, this player is just giving me arseholes and I'm sick of it, then I'll be happy to sort of pass that message on to said player to hopefully get him in line, because end of the day, if he's annoying the referee enough, then that's going to be detrimental to our team, and I don't want that. And
yeah, definitely. So I'm just looking at some of these other notes here. Just a heads up for other people that are in the chat. If you want to pose a question to Brad or anything like that, just push the chat tab down the bottom and just put them in the in the talk there, and I can ask Brad those questions. So I've got one here, Webby, for you. Is there any law in the game that you would prefer more leniency on or differently interpreted by the referee? There's about 20 odd laws to pick from.
Yeah.
There's about 20 subcategories for each law as well. So,
I don't know. It's great. If I'd had that question before.
yeah, sorry, put that on the spot for you.
No. I don't know. A bit more leniency towards. I'd maybe. I hate personally. I hate the box kicking where they create the long snake and then they take 50 minutes to get a kick away. So I'd be a bit harder on that, around 5 seconds to use it. I think they should be. It's cool, use it and then wait 10 seconds for someone to kick it. It's even though I'm a halfback, I don't really like it.
Yeah, we're probably trying to give too much leniency and protecting you little fellas and letting the big boys look after you is a bit too much, maybe, eh?
You got to protect us, but that's taking the piss, I think.
It does get a little bit like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Another question here was, are you currently finding the Chiefs environment similar to the ABs? Was it changed? Yeah, that's another question. So first question, is the Chiefs environment similar to what you got at the ABs at the moment?
No, it's different. I think it's very different, actually. But we spend 9 months of the year together, so you've got more time, and you've got more time to sort of get to know guys. And there's no real, not that there's much clicks in the ABs either, but it's just, I enjoy. Like the All Blacks is so high pressure, like it's, the weight of the country's on the team's shoulders. So it's very, very serious. Whereas I find I can have probably a few more laughs. Chiefs.
Yeah, nice. Going back to these pre-match discussions with the referees.
Yeah.
And it probably more affects the big boys up the front. They're constantly getting week in, week out, getting told how to scrum and these little things that the referees look for. You're there around about that, being a halfback. How long, the timings of those sort of chats, what do you think the players are liking around that? Do they like being chatted to for 5-10 minutes, or is it just get in, get out, key message, and then see you on the field?
I imagine it's probably, especially for the front row, it's probably less the better. And then if they ask questions, and you can probably spend a bit more time on that. Just say what you expect from them, and they'll move on. I don't think their memory or brain retention is good enough to have a long spiel. So shorter the better, I'd say, for them. Yeah.
And then do you find that's when you maybe pick up the referee on his way out and have a chat with them and share some thoughts with them on the side? Yeah,
so like most refs are pretty good. They'll come and have a chat to the halfback anyway, just because, we're so involved and we're at every ruck, so we see pretty much everything. Well, we see everything that the ref sees as well. So, and I might ask him a question that I already know the answer to in terms of a ruling, but it might be something that I'm keen for him to keep an eye on. So I might bring it up just so that hopefully he sees that picture throughout the game. That certainly helps me, because the speed of the game is determined by the ball that I get. So it's pretty key that I have a good relationship with the ref around getting some clean ball for me.
Yeah. And then I think Super Rugby is obviously a little bit different, and obviously I don't think there'll be many people in this group that are refereeing Super Rugby. There could be. I haven't seen everyone that's on. But going back to your Mitre 10 Cup and even your club rugby sort of experiences, how do you adapt week in, week out to those referee interpretations?
Like, you could sit there and get really frustrated, and it's just pointless. Like, I've learned to respect what the refs do. Like, you guys don't have an easy job, and whatever way you interpret it, I'm happy to adapt. But I also enjoy having the ability to have a conversation where it's constructive, that I'm asking questions and I'm getting answers back, or if I'm questioning, or if I'm saying my point of view, and hopefully in a constructive way that comes across that way, that I get, it's a constructive discussion between the both of us, rather than like I'm right, you're wrong, or like the best example that I can think of is like Angus Gardner, when like I thought I got taken out going for a ball that I potentially could have scored. I went at him about his ruling, and he just said to me plain and simply, he's like, "Look, you might be right, Brad, but I didn't see it that way. I'll have a look at it after the game, but I didn't see it that way." And at that point, I'm like, well, you can't argue with that. Like, it sort of made me realize, like, he's human. He might not have got that right, but from where he was standing at the time, he made the right call. And looking back on it, when I did look at the clip, yeah, like I probably did get taken out, but where he was situated, could have easily seen it the other way. So saying something along those lines, where yeah, you might be right, but I saw it this way, personally for me, it was a great way of putting a reason why you made a certain decision.
Yeah, I think that's pretty key, and it's something that I've sort of tried picking up on the last few seasons, and having that relationship and just being able to and be honest and almost admit if you have got it slightly wrong. I think you've got to be careful with that, and obviously you might be able to speak on that a little bit more. You don't want to be going around saying sorry 15, 20 times during the match, but I think as a referee, if you say sorry once or twice and say, "Hey, sorry, that's not how I've seen it," do you think that also builds credibility with the players as well? If a referee is willing to apologise once or twice for not seeing something the way that you guys have?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I wouldn't. I probably wouldn't apologise. I wouldn't say sorry, but like I said, if you say you might be right, but I saw it this way, then that's for me, that's constructive. Like, I realise that, hey, yeah, you're not going to get every decision right, as I'm not as a player. So yeah, you certainly still want to be. I guess you guys want to be confident and around your decisions. So stay confident, but also maybe acknowledge that. Yeah, again, you might be right, but this is how I saw it, and this is how I'm refereeing the game. And yeah, like I said, I personally couldn't argue with that.
Yeah, no, good point. Good learning there, I think, for the referees here. We've got a question here from John. Although super guidelines are set for all super referees prior to the season, do you think there's still different interpretations by referees from each country?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I certainly think that the guidelines in super, when they're set out at the start, police really hard in the first 3 to 5 rounds, and then those things that they were focusing on probably starts drifting away as the season goes on, and it goes back to however each ref wants to interpret the game. I think, mate, I think it's certain thing it's getting better around country to country. Like, a lot of the Australian refs are pretty good. The top South African refs are great and are happy to let the game flow. So, yeah, you do get the odd one though. That's a bit, you're like, I saw that. I don't know if you guys saw that. That Super Rugby, the referee in different countries. If you're in South Africa and you have a South African ref, what the penalty disadvantage was to you, and it was like through the roof in South Africa, and not too bad here in Aussie and New Zealand. So it's funny. It's a funny question there.
Yeah, it is a little bit. I do recall the article you were talking. I think it came out around January sort of time. Yeah. There's a bit of a penalty count difference. I don't know how much you sort of read into those articles, because obviously the journalist can twist it to suit whatever sort of angle he wants to go with. But yeah, I see your point. It must be tricky there, going all the way to South Africa and then having an interpretation slightly changed. But I think you're right in terms of the super refs. They're all pretty good, and they're all, well, obviously there for a reason. and they're all doing a pretty good job. So I think it works well for them there. So I guess to sort of extend on that, from a referee's point of view, then, if we are, as a referee, if we're cool and we're calm and we're feeling good about ourselves, and we want to come and talk to a captain, and they are sort of seeing red mist, you know, they think the 50-50s are against them, it's not going well. How do you think we can sort of change as a referee to get that chance to speak to the captain on a level sort of terms and get our message across?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I've certainly had some referees in the past that have literally said that if I see that you are in the red a little bit, then I'll give you time to calm down before I do come up and chat to you. But I mean, if you absolutely do need to have a chat to the captain around something, and he's seeing red himself, yeah, like, to be honest, that's a tough one. I actually wouldn't mind feedback from you guys around what the best sort of thing is, because for me, that's like, if I'm seeing red, then I'm detrimental to my team. So yeah, I'd probably have been like that when I was younger, but I'd certainly like to hope that nowadays I'm a little bit better. But yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, yeah,
it's tricky. Just got a comment come through, so thanks for that, Pat. Just in terms of, we talk about the red head or blue head or red mist. It's sort of it's what we sort of refer to. Red mist is when players aren't really in the right frame of mind. It's sort of like the cartoon when you've got the red steam coming out of their ears, and it's not an ideal time for players or referees when you've got the red mist. You want to sort of engage with a cool, calm blue head, however you want to refer to it. So that's what we're sort of meaning with that. Another question here, Webby, is, do you guys do much analysis on the referees prior to games? Again, I think that's probably easier for Super Rugby because you know who's refereeing and you've seen them maybe within the last month. But do you pay much attention to
that? Certainly you have in the past. Yep. Certainly a lot around penalty counts. At, like, you know, does a referee give away or, you know, blow a lot of penalties to the offensive, to the attacking team or the defensive team, a lot at scrum time or whatever. So, yep, there is a bit of analysis, and certainly once you get sort of 6 or 7 rounds deep, then referees start to sort of get a bit of a trend, and then you can get a bit more specific, especially for loose forwards if they're in over the ball. If you know that you get a ref that if you show a good picture where you're over the ball that you'll win a penalty, then that's something where they can go a little bit hard. I certainly know like Lockie Boshier and Sam Kane look at it pretty hard because that's a big part of their game. Yeah, good question.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Lockie Boshier because he's been going unreal the start of this year. Yeah. Do you think those sort of guys do pay a lot of attention to referees and think, righto, this week the referee's going to be good to me on turnovers versus another referee who may be quite hard on that? Do you think they pay attention to that?
Yeah, I think so. And then they've got to be good enough in game to adapt if they're not getting calls that they would usually get. I certainly think Lockie's been really good at that this year. He's been outstanding in that regard. But at the same time, I know guys that probably haven't. Like I played a lot of rugby with Gareth Evans from the Hurricanes, and he'll do the same thing over and over and over again, thinking he's right. And I'm sure he won't mind me saying that. But some games he'll get 5 penalties for your team, and then other games he'll concede 5. So yeah, some guys do it better than others.
Yeah, but in fairness to Gareth Evans, that must be the tricky part about rugby and the interpretations of the law. 1 week he gets 15 turnovers, and then the week after he thinks he's doing the exact same thing, and he gets 1 or 2 and gets penalised off the field and gets yellow carded. So I think that's, as a referee group, that's where we can keep on building our skills to make sure we're getting in good position and seeing good pitches. So we sort of build up that little reputation for ourselves. So when we do show up to club rugby, teams like, cool, I've got this guy today and had him 3 weeks ago and I got good turnovers.
Yeah. And so long as you're consistent like that throughout the whole game, then that's good. That's got to be a good thing. Yeah. On the drums with that.
Yeah. As another question that we sort of had come up here is, as captains, do you sort of pick a good time to speak to a referee, or are you quite selective around that? You know, if maybe the referee has sort of made a bit of a 50-50, do you try to pick him at a weaker time for him, or?
Yeah, I do now, definitely. Like, if I know that our team's infringed a lot and we don't have much of a leg to stand on at the time, even though maybe that specific penalty may have been 50-50, I try not to then, even if my players are telling me to talk to them, it's not a good time right now, and definitely try and find a bit of a down period where maybe someone's down with a little injury or there's a little water break or something, maybe when we're both a bit calmer, and we can have a genuine chat around it rather than I'm telling me to piss off there. So yeah, definitely do have a try and have a select time to go and talk to them.
Get those 50-50 swaying back in your guys' favour, especially playing for the Chiefs and the All Blacks, obviously. Hawke's Bay, you can just pick your moments whenever you want, man. Go for it. Hey, another question. Oh, where's it gone now? Sorry, crew. Here's one for you. Brando sent one through. Brad, have you refereed a game of rugby before? If so, what level, and did you enjoy it?
I have years ago, and it was like under 12s or something, and I did enjoy it. I actually have considered maybe refereeing when I stopped playing playing rugby, but and actually also when I was injured a couple of years ago, I actually came and saw you, Mike. I was going to try and do some refereeing while I was coming back from my injury, but was unable to do so. But certainly keen to give it a crack. I think most rugby players should, once you get to sort of my level, if they can have a crack, because then they might understand how tough you guys' job is when we actually do play. It's good to have that sort of perspective, I reckon.
Yeah, I agree. I remember that chat. It was unfortunate that we couldn't sort of to get that across the line when you were coming back from injury, but that's all right. Don't commit to it too soon. You know, keep playing, and then you can always come back to it afterwards. Someone else posed a question here in terms of like a most niggly opponent. So we'll answer that question first, and then we'll come to the second part of that. So who is the most niggliest number 9 to play against?
TJ's pretty niggly. I think everybody's probably expecting that answer. He's just, it depends what sort of, he's definitely niggly. He really pushes to the letter of the law too. Like he'll toe the line. That's why if I'm ever playing TJ, I'll often ask questions of the referee before the game around specific things that he's doing, or maybe not that he's doing, but I know that he's going to push at this point, and so I'll ask what the ruling is in this area of the game. And so if he does do what I expect him to do, then I can go to the ref and be like, look, this is what you told me pre-game, and he's infringing here. You got to do something about it. So, but he's pretty good at it.
Yeah,
pains me very much. He is good at it.
That's all right. And it sort of segues me into the second part of the question is, when you've got a lot of chat from someone like a Perenara or to be fair, any decent halfback that we sort of see on TV, as a referee, or how much of that do you think is just white noise from a halfback who's just doing his job versus how much of that is actually directed towards the referee trying to influence the referee's decision? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Look, honestly, I think all of it is to try and influence the referee. Personally, otherwise, certainly around the breakdown anyway. Like I'm seeing what I'm saying for my team, and I'm hoping to help you guys see the same thing I'm saying. And if you do, then great. Again, I don't want to do it in a way that's undermining a ref, or I don't want to be yelling in a way that's I've had many a ref tell me to not pipe down, but maybe doing it in a better way, and I think that's often been fair enough. So yeah, I honestly think probably all of it is directed at you guys.
Yeah, just planting that seed, I feel like that's what it's almost at. And sometimes it's just real indirect sort of comments. And at times it's even just the two halfbacks talking together.
Yeah.
And the referee's within earshot, and you're just planting that little seed. So that's a tough one, because obviously as a referee, you're thinking, shit, these guys know what I'm looking at.
Yeah. We're cunning little things, so you gotta...
Yeah. Another question here. Do you interact with the referee when you know your opposite captain is maybe not on the good side of the ref? So that sort of segues into, or again, follows on from your Perenara thoughts there as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'll probably often just let the other guy go if he's doing a terrible job and being, he's losing it a little bit.
Digging his own hole.
Yeah, but then I'll go the opposite and try and be as calm as possible to the referee so it can swing him hopefully a little bit to our side and against the others. So yeah, I always try to be. I say try because I'm not perfect. I still, the odd time lose it when I probably shouldn't have. So yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Don't beat yourself up on it. Is it something that do players sort of study the law, you think? Obviously, I think the real good players would, like the Sam Canes, I reckon he would be all over that.
Yep.
But do you think the Chiefs boys would?
I don't think everybody does. No, I definitely don't. I think there are definitely some. I'd say most nines probably will think they know a lot of the law. TJ probably studies the law book profusely. And yeah, I'd say I'd like to think a lot of captains would too. I think the more the more actual conversation you can have with a referee rather than just shouting bullshit.
Yeah, definitely. Do you remember that the scenario a few weeks ago? Obviously, in that last home game with the Chiefs when Croods went to go kick it out, and Geordie Barrett's standing on the first tier of the grandstand and catches the ball. How many of you boys were sort of scratching your head at that, thinking, "Can he do that?"
I think most of us were, to tell you the truth, because I know the law had changed a few years ago around that, but I didn't realise you could do that. So that was new for me. Fair play to him. He clearly knew the rules. So I'd say a lot of our outsides probably know that. But obviously everybody else inside didn't, because some of the boys were losing it, I think.
Oh, some of them were, definitely. I was sitting on the sideline and you could definitely hear a few of the boys and some people in the technical boxes, they were definitely losing it.
Yeah.
But credit to Geordie on that occasion. He was 100% spot on and good skill. I guess that sort of shows the importance of, if you do know the laws pretty well, there is times when you can, not exploit them, but they work to your advantage, because in that scenario you had probably maybe 5 or 6 guys not playing the game, meanwhile the Hurricanes were playing on, right?
Yeah, 100%. No, it's definitely exploiting it.
Do you guys get training pre-season around chatting with the referees or anything like that as captains or as senior leaders, or not something that's in a formal? Is it formally done, or just something you guys do as a group?
Probably should, to tell you the truth. I did win a fair bit when I went back down to Hawke's Bay a couple of years ago, because Polly was our PD manager, Chris Pollock.
Yeah.
And so he basically gave myself, Gareth, and Ash Dixon just like a rundown on how we should interact with refs, and how to get them on your side and what questions to ask at certain times, which was actually really beneficial for me. I actually really enjoyed my time with Polly down there. So I've probably been one of the lucky few that maybe have had a little bit of training around how to interact with the referee, but I imagine not many have had that sort of stuff, that sort of specific stuff anyway. Yeah, probably should. Very great point. Probably should have more training in that regard.
Yeah, it's probably good. You guys were lucky to have someone like Polly around, with tons of experience that he's had involved in your team day in, day out. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It obviously proved worthwhile for you, Ash, and Gareth there. So
yeah,
good. I'm just trying to scroll up to see if we've got any more questions. Nah. Does anyone else have any more questions for Webby? We've got one come up just here. No, same one I just read.
Oh yeah, I can see them now. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. There you go. Some of them have come through privately, and others.
Yeah.
I think if we go back to club footy, how many games did you end up playing for Morrinsville? You would have got a few games in for those boys, wouldn't you?
Like 5 games, I think, and
yeah, in a few seasons. Do you think when you got the crowds getting stuck into the referee?
Yeah.
How do you think that we could sort of tidy that up within a club rugby space and getting buy-in from the players or captains of those clubs to set more of a role or be more of a role model within their communities to leave the referee alone effectively within club rugby space?
Yeah. Mate, that is a great question. Definitely needs to be better. Yeah, you just get those. You get those classic supporters that don't know of nothing more than just shredding the ref. Yeah. Look, I don't know. I mean, you definitely have to have. If you could have buy-in from the players where they're actually calling supporters out that do that. If you have people around that. That if someone's like, there's a little bit of banter is always enjoyable from the sideline, but if they're taking it too far, then someone's got to be around to be able to maybe tell that person to either calm down or get gone. Maybe someone around the club. I don't know how exactly that would look. It's a really good point, and probably something that's really does need to be considered because I'm on your side. Like, you guys need.
It's tough. Something that we sort of discussed in the office was like, do you think, if the referees and the captains had a really good relationship, maybe within the competition, within a premier competition or whatever, that they could even just stop the game and go up to the captain and say, hey, Brad, do you mind just going over and having a chat with your manager or your little spectators in the corner there?
Yeah.
And just get in. They need to cut it out. Otherwise, we can't carry on. Do you think there's much merit in a case like that?
No, actually I do. That's probably a really good point. I mean, the captain of particularly the Premier Club team at all clubs has, he's got a lot of respect around there. So if you win, and like you say, if they have a good relationship with you and the rest of the referees in the region, where you can feel comfortable enough to ask that of a captain, and certainly me personally, I'd be happy to go up to any one of my club supporters and give that message. I think that's actually a really good idea. Hopefully that can come in and hopefully get some good results out of it. That'd be great.
Yeah, cool. Hopefully it's something we can maybe explore within the people that work within the PUs and see how we get on. We've got the back end of Brad Weber, so it's got to be good.
Yeah.
How often do you see referees come to trainings, and do you find that beneficial when referees are at trainings?
Well, yeah, they could probably come in plenty in pre-season anyway. They come in and not maybe once a month or two in season, but I think it's beneficial. I think it's really beneficial. That's a great time when you can just have a off the record chat with the referee and chew the fat a little bit, and you can get an idea of what they're actually looking for, and and then you can explain, without the pressure of a game, what you're actually trying to do, and whether that's legal and what they're looking for, and whether that's going to tie into how they're doing things. It's great. So I really enjoy when referees come in.
Yeah, I think that's something important that a lot of our viewers here should really try to encourage through the REO or the referee managers to get along to their team's trainings and get engaged. You don't have to go to the premier team or the first 15 teams training. There's always teams that are wanting referees and input. So I would really encourage referees out there to get along to team meetings and get alongside the senior players within that. There's a lot of people that are willing to give over some knowledge in that. And I think it's something that as referee group, we need to be better at and really engaging with that side of rugby, the game side of rugby. rather than just staying in our own little pillar, thinking if we talk to refs, we'll get all the information we need from just refs. So no, it's cool.
And you guys could learn a thing or two like as well in terms of, we're doing this for this reason, and then you can sort of sit there and like, oh yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. So in a game when a referee captain says like I'm doing this because of this, then you'll understand exactly why. So it can be really beneficial, I think, certainly for both parties.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Question here: Do you think you'll see a woman referee a men's international test match?
Yeah, if she's good enough, yeah. I don't think it matters personally on gender. If a woman comes through and is just as good as any other international ref that happens to be male, then I've got no dramas with it. Yeah, so I think, yeah, certainly based on merit, she's good enough. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, yeah, agree. I think to answer that question, I think we will one day. You're right. The opportunities that are out there for everyone is unreal. Yeah. Question was, how much do you study the law?
I probably don't study it as in. Well, I've gone through the book like every now and then, but I probably learn more from watching rugby and different interpretations. That if there's a call or something, then I'll learn through that way. Like I've learned the sideline thing now. I won't forget that one.
The hard way.
Yeah. I won't forget it now.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right, to be fair. I can bring a couple over to Chiefs HQ when we get out of lockdown if you want.
Yeah, I think I've still got the one that you gave me a couple of years ago.
Oh, no, that's way old now.
Oh, is it? Yeah. That'll be why I didn't know that.
Yeah, you're right, to be fair. Laws change every 8 months.
Yeah.
Here's a long question here, so let me just read this. Just wondering, hold on, let me read it before I read it out loud. How much weight? Yeah, right, okay. So here's a question for you. Just wondering, how much weight do you guys and the coaching staff put into a pre-match chat? And how are you trying to achieve that on the day? And then do you guys feel that the referees are open to adjusting their interpretations? If that makes sense. That's a long question.
Yep. No, that makes sense. Say some guys definitely put a lot of work into what they say to a referee pre-game, and certainly a couple of our coaches do. Neil Barnes in particular will quiz a referee pretty hard. And like it's kind of like what I said earlier. Like personally, for me, like if I know going into a game that a 9 does this, or if I want a referee to look at something in particular, like for me, for example, like even if I know the answer to the question, like if I quiz them on, when guys roll out, they're meant to roll out to the side right, not into my running line, like you call it east to west rather than north south, and he'll say, yeah, you got to go out to the side. And so in a game, if I'm being taken out by someone rolling into me, then I can basically say what I'll talk to him beforehand, and honestly, more often than not, I'll get that call. So definitely to my advantage.
Yeah. And here's another good question here. Do you think referees should make rugby decisions instead of refereeing the law? It's a bit of an extension to what Angus Gardner spoke about last week. But what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, so it's like around basically using common sense in some regards sometimes, essentially. Like, personally, yeah.
We sort of refer to it as like rugby decisions, or what's good for the game, I guess. Like if you talk about someone rolling north, south, or rolling into you as a halfback, but if you're not there as a halfback, rather than penalising it and just play on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm all for making. Yeah, like if you did it to the letter of the law every ruck, there'd probably be a penalty at every ruck, right? So, I'm all for having a bit of common sense and just doing what's best for the game and keeping it free flowing. I think it's a much better way of doing it.
Yeah.
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 Agree with
Anthony's asked us here, have you set the law exam before? And if not, are you willing to do it?
that. No, I haven't. And yes, I am willing to sort of, I would be very,
You should challenge a few of the boys, you know, like you've got a couple of weeks free.
yeah,
So
true.
maybe we send it through and you can just throw it out there and say, hey, fellas, give it a crack.
Yeah, we could do that. Is there somewhere you can do it online, is there?
Well, there is, yeah. So I'll tee it up for you and I'll flick you through, and then
Okay.
you can challenge the boys and let us know how you get on.
Yeah, sounds good.
It was something I was thinking about earlier too. Someone's just mentioned about a pass. Talk us through the flick pass from Sean Stevenson against the Tars. But I actually want to talk about your pass in the Rugby World Cup that led to the try of the Rugby World Cup.
Yeah.
I don't think you were given enough credit for that assist. Hey, it all just went to TJ, like greatest try, but what about the pass that TJ received?
Yeah, it's got to be split custody on that best try.
100%.
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, wasn't really thinking. It was just kind of happened. Like I never do that at training. I never really practiced it. I just honestly, I was looking for him on the other side, and then when he said he wasn't there, it was too late. If I passed it in front of me, I would have got ball and all tackles. So I just had to throw it around my back and hope. And honestly, I was probably more nervous after the game because I thought Shag would be like shredding me for trying to be all showboaty, but luckily he loved it. So, yeah, my nerves were alleviated after the game.
Yeah, fair enough. Just on that, how was that World Cup experience? Obviously, you're new back into the All Blacks, I guess, after your leg injury.
Yeah.
How was that experience? Obviously, not getting the World Cup.
Yeah.
A bit of a bummer, but other than that.
Yeah, I mean, we would have loved to have won it, but I mean, England that night I think would have beaten anyone, so it certainly makes it a bit easier to swallow. And the way the public reacted to that, I think, was great too. They didn't kick up a fuss too much. So, but actually, I really enjoyed my time in Japan. We were there for 9 weeks in the end, which is a long time to be over there.
Yeah, it's a long time.
And it wasn't until we'd lost that semi-final that I was like, oh yeah, I'm ready to come home now. So I've been 2 months away and I was still loving it. So Japan's a great place, good food, plenty of things to see and do. So, I loved it, mate. It was great experience.
Yeah, no, it's good. So I'm just having another look through here. We've got one here at the very start where young Dante wants to say hi to Brad. I think he was having a look at you on the chat there. So sorry I didn't see that earlier, but Dante says hi.
Hey Dante.
I
actually had a private message from Tamua Ioane from Otago. I used to play rugby with him down there, and he asked how it must have been when someone asked if I'd refereed a game of rugby before. And he asked, how did you see over them?
That's rough.
Yeah, fair play. Yeah.
Who was it? Did Tamura say that?
Yeah, luckily it was under 12, so I was taller than all of them.
Yeah. Well, you're just quicker than everyone and you get in a better position and you don't have to look over everyone.
Exactly.
I've just had one come through here from Bryce, and he's asked if, has anyone asked if you're interested in refereeing post-rugby? So the good thing is we can go back to Bryce and tell him that we have spoken about that and you are pretty keen and giving it a go. So
I am interested. I'm not sure, not totally sold just yet. But because I don't know if coaching's for me either. So we'll see.
Have you done a little bit of coaching on the side, or just just playing at the moment?
Nah, just play. I've done the coaching course and stuff. Like I'd love to go back and coach, say like my old first 15 and AP boys or something like that would be cool. But I don't think I could be a professional coach. It'd just be too stressful, I think. And
it's pretty full on, isn't it?
Yeah. There's not too many coaches that stay in one place for sort of more 4 or 5 years. So you have to uplift the family every 4 or 5 years. It'd be pretty tough, I reckon.
Yeah, I reckon that's a tough part. I think the cool thing with refereeing at the moment is we are really pushing. It is a viable option to give a crack after playing. You know, like in the past, we've seen a lot of players just go from being a player straight into coaching. and some players are good at it, other players obviously not. But I think it's cool that now refereeing is becoming a viable sort of option for players like yourself. And I know people have even mentioned before that they know that TJ is quite keen to give it a nudge as well. So I think it's cool that there's more and more players that are looking at that pathway. You know, surely we don't expect you all to give it a nudge, but at least you're considering it and making refereeing sound like it's a good option.
Yeah, basic nines. We'll give them that a crack. I think they know.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you do start off on the right foot now and everything, so it's good. We'll wrap it up in the next couple of minutes. Another question here: do you, after the match, post-match, win or lose, do you go up and have a chat with the referee, or do you try to stay away post-match just in case?
It's a great question. I don't often talk to a referee after a game. That more so because they usually just walk off and we're busy shaking hands. So I'll shake their hand first, and then I probably don't get the chance to really, and it's probably a good thing, especially after a loss. Like I imagine, you know, especially if you've had a tough loss or something that you maybe don't agree with, and some guys might say things that they shouldn't, or you know, wouldn't usually, or that might be out of character. So, unfortunately, they don't really.
There's not too many. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's not too many after matches these days either, is there?
Nah, not super level anyway. There is still at Mitre 10 Cup, but
yeah,
it's basically none at Super Rugby anymore.
Yeah, so it doesn't really, like you said, it doesn't really give you an opportunity, and it's not like the referees come into the shed and say, "Hey, Brad, how did I go?"
Yeah.
So, here's another one here. Kane Hames, ex-All Black, making his premier refereeing debut pre-season before obviously lockdown. What do you reckon about that?
Yeah, it's sweet. He's obviously not playing anymore, and I think it's great. Kane's always been he's always been pretty knowledgeable on rules and stuff, and pretty studious guy. So I'm not surprised that he's able to do it. Good on him.
Yeah,
good to see a prop doing it too.
Yeah, it is. It's bloody good, isn't it?
Mm.
And one here, do you have any questions? This could be risky. Do you have any questions for the referees? We might be able to help you out tonight.
Well, I mean, what do you like in a captain? Like, what would have been like your most enjoyable games or most enjoyable interactions with players that when you're refereeing? Like, what do you guys like? Because we want to help you guys out as well. And
yeah, well, I speak for the one of the 48 that are on here, so obviously it's going to be quite broad for a lot of different guys. But I think the biggest thing is we referee for the fun of it. It's no different to you playing. You just want to play and get out there with your mates and throw the ball around and have a good time. And we're no different as referees. And sometimes we do that by ourselves with no ARs, but then other times we get the opportunity to do it with ARs and even TMO, sideline crew, where we've got a good group of us. So the biggest thing for us is we're out there wanting to have fun like you guys. And for me personally, it's just been able to have those fun interactions with players during the match, being able to maybe have a bit of a laugh, a bit of a conversation, and just going through a game and knowing that you've done the best job that you possibly can. And obviously you're not going to be able to please all 30 guys on the field, but if you go out there and have fun and enjoy it, then I think that's pretty much what we can ask for as referees.
Just seeing Bryce's comment come through.
Yeah,
it's probably because they're winning or most of the time.
Yeah, but do you think that?
I've played games when we've been beating them, and he's been.
What? Fiji 2019.
Yeah. Had a go.
Good game that too. But do you think that does help though as a captain and your relationship with a referee? If you're going up to the referee every 5 minutes and wanting to clarify a decision that's pretty clear and obvious.
Yeah.
It's not really going to help your cause, is it?
Nah, that's picking and choosing the right moments. Like often penalties that you might think might have been your way, but in reality, like it's not really. It's not worth debating. So you're only hurting your team. So yeah, you definitely got to pick the right moments. And most of all my good, I really enjoy it when I have good interaction with the referee, and we can have a little bit of a joke sometimes. So those are the ones I really enjoy. The games I like.
Yeah. And a couple of other referees have just sent through. They're exactly the same as you. They just want to have a bit of banter, have good, calm discussions, and get on with the game, which is good to see from everyone. So that's cool. We'll wrap it up there. If I hope that's all right with everyone. So Webby, thanks again. Really appreciate you taking your time out during lockdown and having a chat to the guys and girls. So hopefully everyone got a little bit out of that and enjoyed that. So all the best for the next couple of weeks. Well, hopefully it's only a couple more weeks of lockdown. And then we can get back out on the field and you guys can get out running around again and enjoying the footy, and we can get back out on the field and have a referee and see how we get on. So thanks, man. Really appreciate it. And I'll look forward to catching up with you soon sometime.
Sounds good. No worries, gents. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers, thanks. And thanks everyone for coming in and like with Brad, appreciate everyone else tuning in and having a chat this evening. So everyone stay safe, stay well during lockdown, and we'll talk soon. Cheers. Bye.